All right, today's morning medicine is anilinum, which is peyote button. So, uh, we use mushrooms, we use peyote button, we use cocaine, we make it coca as a medicine. So we use a lot of these things. Amanitas, we use them, the ones that are in the Christmas stories. But the bowel nosodes I went over yesterday, right? And I'm gonna do that tomorrow. And you know, it's gonna be. I want to get this into my community and get this because once I study something and I get some ideas, I want to have a record of it because some of this is pretty deep, but it's pretty good. And I summarize a lot of it. But we all have B. coli in our system. If you could see a microscope scope on your skin, you'd think, "Oh my goodness, look at all that stuff growing around on me." But in your biome, there's the same thing, and we all have B. coli in there, which is one of the bacterias. And he says Louis Pasteur is the guy that specified there's germs and viruses, so that gives a kudos to him. But he talks about we all have B. coli that's non-pathogenic, doesn't make us sick. It's just there. It's doing its thing. It's living. It's enjoying life. Everything's good, and that's in a healthy biome. Okay, the change in the host, whether it's a stress, a cold, a flu, or whatever it is, that change in the host changes the mucosa, and it becomes pathogenic. So you have a sickness, a cold, you have a stress from outside. When I say outside, I mean you're worried about an exam, you're worried about the future, your health, whatever it is. You have a change in the mucosa and the biome, the B. coli becomes pathogenic now. So the change in the host, the bacillus or the bacteria, changes to survive. So they're trying to survive, and whatever's going on with us. So then what happens? Symptoms come up. So we have a person that's sick, and now he does the provings of this bacteria on the uh, Morgenbach and different bacteria. That's what they're calling them. I guess the guys that discovered them, they give them their name. So when they give them a remedy, they change the host. They felt well for 10 to 14 days, right? Or they felt well, basically. 10 to 14 days later, the stool had typhoid-like germ in it. So they were checking the stool, that B. coli, 10 to 14 days after the medicine was given to a sick person, that it had a typhoid tint to the B. coli or the biome. The potentized homeopathic remedy changed the bowel flora. Okay, so when that changes, then that causes the disease. That causes the B. coli or the stuff in there to change its way to try to survive. And the symptom picture of the disease. And remember, when the nose is running, the eyes are watering, you're having diarrhea, whatever's going on, the body, the vital force is trying to force out the sickness from within to outwards to get rid of it. So that is what you're getting. That's the symptom picture you're getting from this person when the flora changes. You change the host, you change the flora, and you're getting these disease symptoms appearing. They're runny nose, whatever it is, diarrhea. Uh, so vital this is the vital force resistance to the disease, to whatever the bacteria, whatever the thing is going on. Um, so it's trying to resist, and it's pushing things out, and it's causing symptoms. And this is what we look at. We look at the symptoms, saying, "Oh, this is what's going on with the person. I need to match a medicine, or as this is going, Morgenbach or um, a whatever remedy will match that person." So he listed, he basically did an experiment and he listed all the bowel nosodes with the remedies that correspond. Because I guess he'd give a remedy. Now don't forget, the vital force is what we're affecting. We're going in, affecting the vital force because the body you know, doesn't do the healing or the pushing out. It's the vital force or the immunity, this inner man. Paul talks about it. He says, though my outer man is decaying, my inner man is being renewed day by day. So I always say we can age. This thing's going to age and die. We've been dying since we were born to die, as they say. But As this decays, though, the inner man can get stronger and healthier. Tai Qigong, some remedies to get your health back, to get rid of any sicknesses, any old injuries, any old stuff, and then eating live food, to strengthen the vital force and strengthen, because we take energy in and energy out. If you're eating ding dongs and Twinkies and yin yangs, you, what kind of energy you think you're going to have, and we do have biome in there that love sugar, man, and they're like, feed me. That's why your brain says, we got to get sugar no matter what happens. So, all right, so let's get into peyote button. Now I'm going to do that tomorrow. Uh, and it's quite simple once you look through it. It's highly technical information, let me tell you. They got a, I don't know, they got a lot of big words, and sometimes there's old words. You got to thank God for Google, you know, Dr. Google. I don't use Google for my doctor and stuff, but to check out because you can come up with some weird stuff. I just use it to figure out what does this word mean. Well, and most of it's, you know, so close to like paralysis is I forget what that was. I think it's in here. I'm gonna read. So, anyways, peyote button, anilinum. He says, I first cut up the button into small fragments and poured on boiling water twice. So a single infusion of that water doesn't do it. It's inactive. But once you pour it over it again a second time, he says, you get the active ingredient of the peyote button. Tincture and all potencies. And as we know, it's an hallucinogen, basically like marijuana, which is Candida indigus. That's marijuana, which has similar symptoms of hallucinations of, different things. So the anilinum plant from which the mescal buttons are obtained grows in barren rocky soil in Antioquia, Rio Grande. Indians use them in their religious ceremonies. In the Indian ceremonies, the constant beating of the tom-toms. So sound is big with these peyote buttons. Also there's visual, but really big with sound. Its most striking effects appear in the auditory nerve, for it makes each note upon the piano a center of melody, which seems to be surrounded by a halo of color, pulsating to the rhythm of the music. So that's very interesting. So now this could be someone that's insane or having, like even belladonna. Belladonna, man, I know when I had a flu or pneumonia, I guess I had walking pneumonia. I think I could see little green men up on the curtain rods, and I threw up. And I can remember my mom cleaning. I looked. I said, "I'll get them little green men, mom." I was hallucinating. So anybody in a flu cold like that, this could be one of the medicines you can consider. Anilinum, whatever that is, has been recently tested and a notable proving have been made by Dr. Weir Mitchell. It is a cardiac tonic, so for the heart, and respiratory stimulant. Interesting. It weakens the heart and produces insanity. So when you take it in dose, it weakens the heart and produces insanity. So what it'll fix, it's a cardiac tonic. So you can give it as a tonic and a respiratory stimulant. And so if it, what it does to you, homeopathic medicine, what a substance will do to a healthy person, it will heal a sick person that has those same symptoms. That's why we take all the symptoms. So they basically poison people, and then, you can antidote homeopathic medicine, but you poison people with it, and you get these symptoms. Now you're doing it homeopathically, so it's more of a vibrational thing, but they'll throw off symptoms, just like if they were sick, just like if they had typhoid, like the bowel thing says. Um, so, anyways, the vital force wants to throw something off, puts out symptoms. You give that medicine to them that matches the symptoms, and the vibration, whatever it is, I can't explain it fully. The one lady said, "Can you explain homeopathy?" I said, "Yeah, I do it every day." And she said, "No, no, no. How it works?" I'm thinking, well, it's quantum physics. That's the only thing I can think of. They understand the big world and how it works and all the physical stuff, but that quantum physics, buddy, they're like, man, there's some weird stuff there. So it's got to be on that realm, kind of like electricity and sending sound through the air and to these little phones and things. Who would have thought? Anyways, anilinum, peyote button, hyperest. synesthesia senses. So the senses are highlighted big time. Cold over body. The body's cold. Allergies. Any kind of allergies. This could be good for anilinum. Insomnia. Anxiety. Neurosis. Neurosis is, yeah, schizophrenia, suicidal, all that kind of stuff. So this could be quite a good remedy. Oh yeah, I got bit by this, and I've been noticing these bugs are tinier than the ticks I see floating around. So what am I going to take for that? I'll take some ledum because that's a puncture wound. Any puncture wound, whether it's a needle or a nail you stepped on or a bug that bit you, you'd consider ledum. All right, so where was I? Worst closing eyes. So they can't close eyes. I don't know if they get spinning or what. Nausea and faintness. That's probably where it's coming from. They're nauseous, faint. And I know they said when you eat a peyote button, you do throw up or something, and afterwards you have the hallucinations. Worse movement. Better lying down. So they can't move. They just have to sit there. They're kind of, that's where there's a paralysis that comes in. I think I've read it earlier. Wonderful visions, remarkable, beautiful, kaleidoscopic changes. So they are having audio and visual hallucinations. That's all three. So that can be an insanity and schizophrenia and whatever, a cold, a flu, a thing like that. Intoxication. It's like they're intoxicated. Their eyes are droopy. They're dopey. Uh, and they have increased physical ability. Huh. Well, yeah, I wonder if they just think they have that ability. Yeah, I think they have that ability. I don't think they have, but anyways, when somebody's under the influence of something, they can feel like Superman. That's why heard of them jumping out of windows, eating all that acid back in the whatever 60s. Also, visions of monsters in gruesome forms. So they can also have a bad trip, as they say, and they could see something really um, disturbing to them. And that could send them off into a bad place. Abdomen, back, chest, nothing, ears, exaggerated reverberation of ordinary sound. So it just keeps reverberating in the ear. Impressions of sight, sound are heightened by stimulating the skin. So we rub the skin and all the senses, everything else gets highlighted. Pupils are dilated. Belladonna has that too, dilated pupils. Ptosis, which is lids are droopy. Gelsemium, you see someone sitting there like that. That's why I said a little girl from California. The only thing I got from the mother was, she couldn't come to the class. She's like, my daughter has COVID. What's going on with her? I said. She said she's just laying there. She ain't moving. I said, go get Gelsemium from the health food store. So she ran down. You tell someone that, and they're like, yeah, sure thing. But I think they were pretty scared about this. So they ran down, and I got on the phone with her. I said, ask them for Gelsemium. She says, get Gelsemium. She went back, gave it to her. I don't know if I talked to her that day. I think I kind of just backed off. She gave the Gelsemium, told her how to give it. Next day, she was better. She was back to teaching us, or yeah. Anyways, she was back, and we asked, how is she? I think we texted. I don't think that day she was back. I don't know. But we texted her. She said, oh, yeah, she's doing great. So, yeah, that's how easy and quick this stuff can be. But there's a lot of science behind it that, can sound quite impressive. Like all the doctors, they make things sound impressive. You got hematoma. What's that mean? I got a hit to the head and I'm bleeding. you know? So, anyways, that's why Dr. Google comes in handy. Lids droop, troubled vision and perception, vision and colors. So they're seeing colors and probably trails. Like trails are, you move your hand and it's like wee. You keep, you see a bunch of them. you know. Troubled vision and perception. So their perception is off. So they're not walking around and wanting to get around because they can hurt themselves because their perception's off and they have troubled vision. So not good to get them around. If you're going to do this stuff, you go out in the woods or somewhere and sit down and do nothing. Discipline to make slightest movements. Oh, so they're when they make their movements, they're just like, "Ooh, is that is that ground solid?" Crap like that. So if you see someone walking around like that, they're not real sure of themselves. Their vision's off. Their pupils are dilated. They look crazy. Look intoxicated. You might want to consider anilinum, even if they ate a poison. They ate something poisonous, or they ate these things. You give that homeopathically to neutralize the symptoms. Scarcely moves jaws when eating, so their jaws ain't moving too well. Female food, head, the occipital headache, sorry, with disturbed vision in the front. So the frontal headache, occiput headache with frontal vision and frontal headache and all that going on. Persistent tired feeling in occiput. So they feel dopey and droopy. That's why I said Josemium would be considered in that case. Because this is a medicine. I don't doubt I don't have that one. But you probably can get it. Like yesterday, I went and got rhododendron. Um, 12C. Now I've been wanting to do rhododendron because where am I at? Because it says worse by. And did I leave that thing there? What time is it, man? I gotta make sure I don't go over today. Yeah, rhododendron. What's it say here? It says, and I use Russ Talks usually, but I've been looking every time I look up a medicine for me when the weather's bad and everything like that. It's like rhododendron. It sounds like so sensitive to windy or stormy, wet weather big time. Fibrous. So the fiber tissues feel, you feel agitated. You feel, yeah. So Russ Talks has that, but worse before a storm and rough weather. So, and I know when a storm comes on, man, the body's like, oh man, things are aching. I know when they say, hey, there's a storm coming. No, what are you talking about? But yeah, where I injured myself and my shoulders injured, my hips somewhat injured. I mean, it's functional, but man, I lay there and they ache. It's like, oh man, I have a hard time lifting my arm up and stuff. So once you find a remedy that the vital fixes the vital force, don't forget, I'm not aiming a remedy at my shoulder, at my hip. I'm aiming at what the vital force is doing. There's other symptoms that will help me to determine between just a shoulder remedy or a hip remedy. Or a left-sided remedy. There's other symptoms that I have to put in with that to choose the right medicine. And you see, as I read, sometimes these guys tried 5, 6 medicines. They're like, what the heck? They go to a unusual remedy like anilinum, and it clears it up. So, all right, limbs, burning sensation of limbs. So there's just a burning fire. Arsenicum has burning and all that. Causticum, all different medicines like that would be under that symptom. A fine tremor, and if those remedies, arsenicum and causticum, and some other remedies for burning, inhalanum could be the one. A fine tremor in lower limbs. Man, I just found that bug this morning, and look what it did. Ain't that wild? I mean, I did pick at it pretty good. Pulled that sucker out and just I scratch it open and I squeeze it to get any poison out that I can. So I didn't take Leadum yet, so I'm drinking coffee. I'll take Leadum once the coffee's done. Will it antidote it? I don't know. I'm not sure if coffee antidotes Leadum. It antidotes a few remedies, but burning sensation of limbs, a fine tremor in lower limbs. So their legs are tremory, so they're not walking fine either. So breathing is shallow. Great difficulty talking, partly from paralysis of tongue, partly from slowness of thought. So their mind's not working good. Their tongue is swollen. Smell is blunted. Can't distinguish smells. So they don't know what they can't distinguish a plant from a perfume, a thing from a yeah. So their smell is off. Nerves, motor incoordination. That's why I say they don't want to be running around moving. They want to be sitting and relaxed and doing something that doesn't require you being near any danger. Extreme muscle depression, paraplegia, neuralgias, that's nerve pain, that's paralysis, trigeminal, which is up in the head there, the plates that come together in the head. Look at all these words of ophthalmic nerve. So that nerve up in the head there. Maxillary nerve, that's in the jaw, and frontal nasociliary nerve, that's of course up in the front here. So the nerve coming down from the what they call that, trigeminal nerve, coming down from the side of the head, the ophthalmic into the masseter, so down the face you get the nerve pain. And then you got motor and coordination, of course. Insomnia and hysteria, drowsiness, followed by great energy. Nausea is worse on movement, better lying down. So, yeah, they get there's you don't want to be moving around. This person just wants to lie there, and that could be a bryonia situation too. Worse from movement. Okay, faintness, vertigo, and brain is tired. So they got a lot of um, dopiness about them. you know. All right, so it's Friday. Tomorrow I'm gonna do that bowel though. I'm gonna sit down right now and make it up. Comments. One prover, Havelock Ellis. So this guy's a prover. He took the homeopathic medicine made out of anilinum. I don't know, I ain't trying to say that. Noted distinct slowing of the pulse, slight faintness, and shallow breathing. But there were none of the terrible heart symptoms of the other cacti. So they've been trying a bunch of different cacti. This one didn't have the bad heart pains, the other ones did. Other symptoms are loss of conception of time, which is in Candida indicus, which is marijuana, has that too. Occipital headache, tired feeling in head, nausea, tremor of muscles increased, knee jerk, and loss of power of coordination. So they're not getting around too good. They're pretty shaky. Extreme muscular depression, don't want to stir. So they don't want to get up. That's bryonia. That could be bryonia. Whole body feels relaxed, lazy, contentment. That could be quite a few different medicines. Fine tremor in lower limbs before the visions. So before them visions, their limbs are trembling. That now they're seeing things. Unable to walk without assistance, can with difficulty sit up. So like I said, Candida indicus is another medicine you'd with the time sense disordered. Fantastic visions too. So either one. Anilinum, which is peyote button, or Candida indicus, which is marijuana. They both have the same sort of. You'd probably be when you look up a medicine, you're looking up these symptoms of hallucinations and sense disorder and time disorder. You'd look up. When you look it up, you'd have them two remedies under it. Gelsemium has the paralysis of accommodations. Well, anyways, that has the paralysis. That's why I say that child had COVID, and the only symptom I got is she's not moving. Go get gelsemium. Let's see what happens. Can't hurt. My buddy does a joke. He says, Jewish guy gets hit by the bus, and he says, "Oh, he's dead. Give him some chicken noodle soup." He says, "That won't help." He says, "It can't hurt." Sorry. My buddy said he always had jokes like that. But gelsemium is the paralysis of accommodation. So they have paralysis. You'd consider gelsemium and what is it? Anilinum. Stramonium, opium, picric acid, pip-M, coffea, coca, which is cocaine. Those ones would all be in this realm too. Like I said, when I had pneumonia, walking pneumonia, man, I was hallucinating. So this medicine has hallucinating too. And stramonium, I think, is a poison that would cause you to hallucinate. Platina, objects seem small and distant. So both of these have that. The objects that you're looking at, they seem just way, way away. Serenum, better lying down. I don't doubt it's in the psychedelic mushrooms too. You have this same thing. Serenum, better lying down. So they want to just lie down. That's the soric miasm thing. Anyways, agave is another one that would be there. What is agave? I forget. Everybody knows what that is. The intoxication of anilinum is similar to the cannabis indica and oenanthe. Oenanthe. That's hemlock. That's poisonous hemlock that they killed Socrates with. So that one has it too. So we'd use poisonous plants, poisonous, hallucinogens and that. And what do we use them for? Not to hallucinate, but to remove the symptoms of the disease, whatever it is. If they're seeing, if they have a flu and they're seeing things, you're going to belladonna, a few different medicines. But eventually, these odd ones, like you start thinking this person's hallucinating. Should I be giving them a psychedelic mushroom, homeopathically prepared? Should I be giving them? So you have to take the symptoms, then match them to what's going on with the, what the proving was. And like I said, the provings is we take a medicine, make it homeopathically, give it to a person until they keep taking it, keep taking it, keep taking it, until they get symptoms. Or someone gets poisoned by something like arsenic, we can write those symptoms down of what's going on with them. And obviously we would take arsenic, potentize it, make a homeopathic remedy basically, and give it back to them to neutralize those symptoms. Just like apis for homeo uh, anaphylactic shock, you know, because what happens is everything, things swell up. If you get bit by a bee, you swell up, if you're allergic to it, especially. But it does swell in that area. It turns red just like this thing is here, and you'd have a stinging. So, they said my throat is stinging, but it's closing up. Anaphylactic shock. Apis is good for the bee, but so basically, what the substance will do to a person will be healed by a homeopathic remedy. I hope to never find out about that anaphylactic shock, but I got apis on hand in case. I got like a 1M would bring them back. Unlike an EpiPen, they took it from $500 to have it around to $5,000, But what do you trust? Everybody trusts the fact that I paid a lot of money for this. I didn't pay just $12 for this little bottle. That's what my bottle of what the heck is that stuff? Rhododendron cost shipped to me from Amazon. So I should get some money. I should start getting some kickback from Amazon, for sending people there. But anyways, that's uh, that's how it works. It's basically going in and it's affecting the vital force, and that's what they get into with this. When he was experimenting, he realized that when he sent them, when people were sick, and then they got on a homeopathic remedy, they started feeling better. 10 to 14 days later in the stool, we would find like a typhoid bacteria in there, so, and they were, undoubtedly he was taking care of typhoid. So with these people, which is not that easy to take care of. It can be, but what else did I do? So that rhododendron, me and my wife started taking. Now, my mother, I would love to help my mother. She's like, nah, what do you think you're a doctor? What do you do? Okay, try it. It can't hurt. you know, they're, they're totally against it. So now she's aching like crazy. Her knee's killing her. She had the knee replacement, so she's got metal in there. And I don't doubt that weather with the wetness and the dampness, Dulcamara has that, but I'd love to give her, first I'd like to give her, because she fell down the steps, cement steps, had a big black and blue mark on her head, and she's like, I'm fine, I'm fine. And that's an arnica symptom when they're like, I'm fine, don't touch me, get away from me, don't worry about it, everything is great. She can't walk, and but she had a big black and blue mark. I would give arnica. Don't touch me. That's a big keynote of arnica. Don't touch me, I'm fine. Give arnica. So I'd love to start her out on some arnica, then go to something. I mean, I don't know what you'd give her. Someone who has metal in their knee. Now she's starting to have a bump on her knee. So yeah, there's a lot of things that I could do. If she was open to it, I could work on that and give her some different medicines to start working on her knee. Before her knee was done, probably could have done Russ Tox or something to that effect, Ruta, whatever, Bryonia. One of them may have took care of the knee pain or the problem she was having. I don't know what she was having. Even my knee, I had arthroscopic surgery, and it still was not right. They had to cut that stuff out. One day my leg just locked. I was doing marble and I was on the floor finishing out the job, and all of a sudden my leg wouldn't unfold. Like, oh man, I still had to get all this equipment into the van and finish cleaning up and make the job right. And I was by myself doing the job, and so finally I sat there for a while, and it finally loosened up. So now I can get up, and I started moving, and I was able to finish the job and get it done. And but I needed to have arthroscopic surgery. So, but it's still not right. So try some different medicines to see if I can help the body, my vital force, to start building tissue or building, repairing it. So, all right, that's morning medicine. You can age, but you don't have to get old. And then go over today.